Today, March 27, 2026. Yesterday we were discussing about concentration. In Vipassanā practice, we develop momentary concentration. And when this momentary concentration becomes strong enough, then our mind is purified. The defilements will not get a chance to enter into our stream of consciousness. And when the mind is purified, then we will be able to see the very true natures in clear-cut manner. We come to see the ultimate natures of these physical and mental phenomena. Therefore, we need to develop that momentary concentration by observing the presently arising objects constantly. But there are some disturbances, there are some dangers which can destroy this concentration. In Patisambhidamagga, it explains the 6 kinds of dangers that can destroy this concentration we gain in the practice. If in the practice, instead of noting the presently arising objects, if we think about the past, if we just think about the past, what happened in the past, we recollect our past memories all the time. Not only the worldly memories, even while noting the objects in the retreat, if we are thinking about our practice before, not only the previous retreats, even in this retreat, how was my practice yesterday or day before? So if we keep on thinking about the past, then we will not be able to develop this concentration. Therefore, returning to the past makes the mind restless. Returning to the past makes the mind restless. If we always return to the past, thinking about our past memories, our past retreats, our past experiences, then that mind, that thinking mind, that wandering mind destroys our concentration. Therefore, instead of thinking the past memories, we should keep our mind in the present object. We should try our best to keep focus in the present object, and that way we can develop this concentration. Therefore, returning to the past is one danger of concentration that can destroy this concentration very easily. And again, second one, contemplating the future also destroys this concentration. If we keep on thinking about the future, if we are planning, imagining, if we are fantasizing the future objects, that also is one of danger of this concentration. And not only the worldly affairs. Again, here when we are doing meditation, um, sometimes we plan, I will note the objects this way and that way. And sometimes we are expecting something new, experience new objects. We do not focus on the present object, but we are looking for new things, new objects. So that type of expectation also destroys our concentration, because every time when we expect something, instead of staying with the present object, that makes our mind waver. So the mind becomes unsteady and restless again. Therefore, expecting the in the practice for some miracles or some benefits or some experiences is also not helpful in this Vipassana meditation. Sometimes we think that, oh, something special will happen very soon, or I will gain the knowledge very soon. So sometimes that type of expectation may arise in the mind. And if we fail to note that type of expectation when they occur, then we won't be able to develop concentration. So expectation or thinking about the future, which has not arisen yet, but just hoping to have some good experiences in the practice instead of staying with the present object, that also makes the mind restless. And that is also one danger of this concentration. And also the another danger is shrinking mind. Shrinking mind, when shrinking mind is there, we won't be able to exert effort. The mind becomes lazy. We become very lazy in observing the objects. Especially this type of shrinking mind can occur when in the practice we feel that, oh, my practice is not going well. My noting is not good. I could not get the knowledge. I could not develop knowledge in the practice. My practice is not progressing. So when we have this type of thoughts arise in the mind, and then the mind shrinks, the mind becomes lazy. So if the mind shrinks, it becomes lazy, then we won't be able to stay with the presently arising object constantly, and then there will not arise this concentration. So in that case, sometimes we need to encourage ourselves. We need to remind ourselves to stay with the present object. And another danger of this concentration is over active, over energetic mind. Sometimes we are exerting the effort excessively. The mind becomes very enthusiastic, very excited, over enthusiastic, over energetic. So when we exert excessive effort, we could not keep our mind concurrently on the object. We overshoot the objects. So in that case also the mind becomes restless. Therefore, we need effort in the practice, but that effort should not be excessive. Means we should not have too much um, concern for our practice. Sometimes because of that over into energetic mind, we will be examining our notings. We will be judging our notings. How was my notings? Whether I note every arising objects or not, whether I forget some objects, or sometimes we exert too much effort to note, to be able to note even a very subtle objects. Because in mind we determine that I will note even a very fine, very subtle objects. And because of that, sometimes we exert the effort more than we need. So if we happen to reflect on our practice at that moment, whether I note this object concurrently, precisely or not, or whether I forget some objects or not, if reflecting in that way, we exert too much effort and then the mind becomes restless. When the mind is restless, then there is no chance for this concentration to occur. Therefore, if we found that we are exerting too much effort, if we are we are having too much concern in noting these objects, sometimes we need to relax. We need to relax. We need to think, I will just try to be in the presently arising objects. Though I exert excessive effort, I am not going to see the objects clearly. I couldn't see the objects clearly, so the knowledge will not arise. Therefore, I will just try to be on the presently arising objects. So sometimes we need to think that way and we need to relax our mind so that we will be able to focus the object very concurrently. Then the concentration will develop. And again, another danger of this concentration is abhinatang chittang, that means gratified mind falls on loss. That means sometimes when our practice goes very smoothly, we feel very happy. We feel very happy when we are able to note the objects one after another constantly. And the noting mind is very concurrent with the object. When we experience this then sometimes we feel very happy. We are very delighted. We are very glad. Oh, my noting was so smooth. I can note many things. Even a very small objects I can note. So when we feel that, we are glad, and sometimes we think about the knowledge, the higher knowledge, the path and fruition knowledge. Oh, I will gain that higher knowledge very soon. I will attain that path and fruition knowledge very soon. So we become very delighted, very happy, and we attach to it. And sometimes at that time, we forget to note that happy feeling. We forget to note that glad mind. We forget to note that expectation at that time, that thinking. So then we lose mindfulness for quite long time. Though we think that I know what is going in my mind, but actually there is no mindfulness. So when this happens, then this lustful mind destroys concentration. We lose concentration. So whenever we experience that delight or happy, when we are able to observe the objects very smoothly, we have to note that mind immediately. We should not be attached to it. And that way we can develop good concentration. And sometimes the danger is frustrated mind. Sometimes the mind becomes very frustrated because we think that though I am trying my best, though I am putting so much effort in the practice, though I am practicing very respectfully and continuously, but I could not gain any knowledge. I could not develop insight knowledge. We feel like that. Though I am putting so much effort in the practice, I am trying to note every arising objects with full effort and aiming, but still I did not gain any knowledge. So we feel very frustrated, and we feel very disappointed, and we fail to note that frustration, that disappointment. We fail to note. So we lose our mindfulness and also concentration. Therefore, frustration, disappointment that arises because of thinking that my practice is not going well, though I am trying my best. We have to note that one. Sometimes if we fail to note that type of frustration and disappointment, then there might be many thoughts appear in the mind. Sometimes we think to run away from the center, from the meditation center. We think to run away, we think to give up because of that frustration, that aversion and disappointment. And that is the danger of concentration. So we have to be very careful that these 6 kinds of dangers are a very big disturbances in developing concentration in our practice. This momentary concentration And if momentary concentration is not well developed, the mind will not be purified and we will not be able to see the very true natures of the objects that we are observing. So therefore, in the discourse on ant hill, the Buddha explained to Venerable Kumara Kassapa that you need to expel the defilements, means you need to make your mind pure. You need to purify your mind. So purifying the mind, what benefits we gain is we will be able to see the physical and mental phenomena very clearly. We will be able to distinguish this mind and matter very distinctly. For example, while noting rising movement, there is the movement occurring in the abdomen, rising movement, and there is noting mind. The noting mind knows that rising movement. And here the rising movement is matter and noting mind is mind, mentality. So there are only two things, the noting mind and the rising movement here. So we also come to know the nature of that rising movement. We experience sometimes tension or expansion or stiffness or movement and so on. We come to see that nature of rupa, physicality, very clearly. And at the same time, we see this noting mind is running towards that rising movement. When we pay attention in the abdomen, when we aim that object. Because at the beginning, we won't be able to see it because the mind is overwhelmed by those hindrances. But when continuously putting effort in the practice in noting the objects, the mind now slowly becomes free of hindrances. It becomes pure and clean, and we now come to see that object very clearly. We feel that the noting mind just penetrates the object. And here the noting mind is one thing, one Dhamma, and this rising movement is another Dhamma. They are two, not one. The mind just sinks into the object. But they are two different things. And sometimes we feel that the noting mind follows this rising movement very closely. But still they are two different things. So we will be able to distinguish this mind and matter occurring at that very moment. That is the knowledge of discriminating mind and matter, nama rupa paricheda jnana. This is one of the base knowledge for base knowledge to occur inside Vipassanā jnana. This knowledge should be occurred in order to arise Vipassana insight knowledge. So this knowledge is also considered as an insight knowledge, but this is not genuine insight knowledge yet. This is just based for the insight knowledge to occur. In seeing the visible objects, when we see the visible objects, there is eye sensitivity and there is visible form. And when this visible form strikes in this eye sensitivity, we come to see that object, means seeing consciousness arises at that time. So when our mindfulness is very good, sometimes we come to see that visible form very clearly. And sometimes we come to see this eye sensitivity. Oh, the visible form appears in this eye sensitivity. And here this visible form and eye sensitivity both are physicality, rupa. And we come to know that rupa very clearly. And also sometimes we come to see that mind, the seeing consciousness very clearly. And there is only two tamas, this seeing consciousness, mind, and the rupa, eye sensitivity and the visible form. We come to know that way. So that is also knowing the mind and matter very distinctly, and that is the knowledge of discriminating mind and matter. So we will have this knowledge only when there is no defilements. The mind is very pure. We see very distinctly. For example, um, when we in playing the drumstick, when we strike the drum with drumstick, then there arises sound. So here, the drum is bass, and we are striking this drum with a stick, that is striker. And when we strike that drum with this stick, then only there arises sound. So we come to see these three things very clearly. If we are very careful in playing this drum. So in seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking, we come to see these types of um, physicality and mentality involved at that time very clearly. That type of knowledge arises when our mind becomes very pure and clean. So when we can see this mind and matter distinctly, then we will have the right view, Ditti Visuddhi. The view will be purified. If we don't see this mind and matter with our own knowledge, with our own practical knowledge, what we think that there is a person, there is I, there is person, there is entity. We come to think that way. If we could not see this mind and matter distinctly. So everything happening because of I, because of person, the knowing, the seeing, the hearing, everything is I am doing. So we might have that view if we could not discriminate the mind and matter. But when we develop this knowledge of discriminating mind and matter, Namarupa Paricheda Jnana, then we will have Ditti Visuddhi. Ditti is view, Visuddhi is purification. There will be purification of view, means we will have now right view. And again, these type of things this Ditti Visuddhi, that we are now able to make a decision. We now are able to decide that, oh, there is really no mind, no person, no I, or no entity. There is only the two dhammas, mind and matter. This one we are able to decide without thinking, without analyzing, without reflecting, but with our own practical knowledge. And Again, when we keep on noting the objects arising at that very moment with aiming and effort, we come to see the cause and effect relation of this mind and matter. Paccaya parikaha jnana takes place. Paccaya parikaha jnana will arise, the knowledge of conditionality. So only when mindfulness and concentration are strong, then this knowledge of conditionality will arise. So everything happening, every mind and matter occurring within us are with their respective conditions, not without conditions. We come to see them through our knowledge. For example, when we want to sit down, when we are about to sit down, if we develop mindfulness and concentration, then we come to see that there arises intention, wanting mind. If there is no intention, then the sitting process will not take place. Before we didn't see that intention, we think that, oh, I can sit. The sitting is just happening by itself. The standing is just happening by itself. But when we develop that strong mindfulness and concentration, now we come to see that there is intention to sit down. And so the sitting process takes place. And while sitting down slowly, sometimes we may find that the intention is not arising at that time. And when there is no intention, the sitting process does not continue. It stops. The sitting process does not take place. So later on, again, the intention arises, and then only the sitting process again takes place. So because of intention, the sitting process takes place. Means here, intention or wanting mind is mentality, nama. And the sitting process, the sitting down process, that is rupa, physicality. So here, mind causes matter. Mind causes matter. In standing up process, also there is the intention to stand up, and then only the standing up process takes place. In walking meditation, there is intention to walk, and then only the walking process takes place. In lifting, moving, and placing, especially when we do this third phase of walking, lifting, moving, and placing very slowly, we can see many intentions occurring in series, stage by stage, and the lifting process also occurring stage by stage. So a mind causes matter. And we come to see that relation of mind and matter very distinctly when our mindfulness and concentration is strong enough. And in noting rising and falling movement, there is rising movement in the abdomen. So there is the noting mind that note that this rising movement. If there is no rising movement, then there will not arise this noting mind that knows rising movement. Sometimes, if we are very careful in noting rising movements, we can see this rising movement and noting mind very clearly. And when the rising movement ends, then there is no mind that is noting that rising movement. There is no mind arising that knows rising movement. So we can see these things. Means here, because there is rising movement, so the noting mind occurs. So that is matter causes mind. Rupa causes nama. Because of rupa, the mind occurs. We come to see that relation of rupa and the nama. That is patsaya parigaha jnana, knowledge of conditionality. In hearing sound, there is ear sensitivity. Ear, we have ear. And there is sound. The sound may be external sound or internal sound. The sound could be from the outside, or maybe it could be from inside. So this sound, when it strikes on this ear sensitivity, both are matter. Sound also rupa, ear sensitivity is also rupa, matter. So when this sound strikes on ear sensitivity, we hear the sound. Means hearing consciousness occurs. If the sound does not strike on the ear sensitivity, then there is no way this hearing consciousness arises. So here the sound and ear is matter, rupa, and that causes hearing consciousness, nama. So rupa causes nama. And when we come to know this relation of rupa and nama, then it can be said the knowledge of conditionality is developed. And also, rupa also causes rupa. Sometimes the weather is very hot outside. And when the heat from outside, the external heat strikes in the body, then we feel very hot inside. So external heat, that is matter, that is also tejo dhatu. And when it strikes inside the body, in body we have many rupa, and we feel very hot. Sometimes because of that heat, we may feel very tired, very exhausted. The body feel very tired. And in cold season, the cold, the external cold, when it enters the body, we feel very cold inside. So that is the rupa causing rupa. Rupa causes rupa. And that is also the knowledge of conditionality. If we could see that thing, when we are very hungry, we feel very weak. But when we eat something, then we feel quite fresh, quite strong. So food, actually food is also a matter because there is nutriments in the food, and that nutriments is a matter, rupa, one of the rupa. And when the body got that nutriment, that produces other matters inside the body. Nutriment matter produces rupa inside the body. So that is the rupa causes rupa. And also mind also causes mind. In noting rising and falling movement, though there is rising and falling movement, if we do not pay attention, then we will not see this rising and falling movement in the abdomen. So here attention is manasikara. This is mentality, nama, manasikara. If there is no attention, then the noting mind will not arise while there is rising and falling in the abdomen. So every time when we pay attention in the abdomen, the noting mind occurs. That noting mind, noting that rising and falling movement. So that is mind causes mind. And especially in thinking, there is attention to the objects of thinking, the thoughts. The mind always pay attention to those thoughts. Then there is a thinking mind. So that is mind causes mind. So all the physical and mental phenomena occurring within us are related as cause and effect. They do not arise without cause. They arise with cause. And that knowledge is knowledge of conditionality. So this is Paccaya Parikaha Jnana, knowledge of conditionality. And for this knowledge to occur, first we need to see the nature, the very true individual nature of mind and matter distinctly. So we will be able to develop these two knowledge only when our mind is free from those defilements. The mind is not overwhelmed by the kilesa defilements. The mind is pure and clean. Then we want only at that time we will be able to develop these two knowledge. And now we see the mind and matter very clearly. And what is that mind and matter? That mind and matter is actually, in this Vipassana practice, is 5 aggregates of clinging. Yeah. Therefore, in the discourse, the Buddha, the Brahmana teacher asks his disciple to dispel the strainer, the filter. And when a student throw away the strainer, what he found is 5 aggregates. Yeah. So throwing away the strainer means throwing away or dispelling the defilements, and dispelling defilements means making the mind pure and clean. Making the mind pure and clean, we see the very true natures of mind and matter. So seeing mind and matter means we are seeing the 5 aggregates of clinging. So the student, when he digs the anthill, what he found? Turtle. Yeah, tortoise. he found a turtle. That turtle represents 5 aggregates. And the teacher asked him to throw away that turtle and continue digging the anthill. So throwing away the turtle is 5 aggregates of clinging. So throwing away these 5 aggregates of clinging means abandoning the desire and attachment to these 5 aggregates. Because we won't be able to throw away these 5 aggregates, what we have to throw away is desire and attachment. That's what the Buddha explained to Venerable Kumara Kassapa. Throwing the turtle means abandoning the desire and the attachment. So in order to abandon desire and attachment, we need to practice further. We need to develop knowledge. Only having these 2 knowledge, Nama Rupa Paricheda Jnana and Paccaya Parigaha Jnana, only having developed these 2 knowledge, we won't be able to abandon this desire and attachment. So what knowledge we need to develop is we need to develop the genuine insight. Here the first one is Sammasana Jnana, the knowledge of contemplation on the 3 characteristics. Means we need to see, we need to perceive these 3 characteristics, anicca, dukkha, and anatta. And for that, we again need to continue observing the objects arising at the very moment, at that very moment, arising at the present moment. We need to observe them continuously again. Whatever the object is there, we just need to note it. So if we keep on noting this mind and matter occurring at that moment, our mindfulness and concentration even become more stronger, more powerful. Then we come to see this mind and matter even more clearly, their universal characteristic of impermanent, suffering, and non-self. Therefore, the Buddha said, Aniccang Vedittabang. You should know the anicca. Anicca, impermanent. You should know impermanent. So what is anicca here? The Buddha means that anicca is aggregates, the 5 aggregates. You should know the 5 aggregates. The 5 aggregates, that is in Vipassana practice, the 5 aggregates of clinging. You should know them. How we should know them? Aniccata Vedittabha. Their characteristic of impermanence. We need to know that. Means we need to see that they appears and disappears. They are not permanent. They arise and dissolve. We need to see that they arise and dissolve. They arise and dissolve. They are not occurring constantly. They are not continuous. There is no continuity. There is no continuity. They arise and disappear. They arise and disappear. We have to know that. We have to see that through our own knowledge. And when we come to see that rise and fall of this mind and matter, then we also see them as dukkha, unsatisfactory, and also anatta, that there is no controller who can control it. So when we can develop that knowledge, then we will not be attached to it anymore. And this talk will continue tomorrow.